Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another book review. Today we're going to be talking about Black Privilege by Charlamagne the God. I just finished this book. It was a pretty quick read. I'm just going to jump right into talking about what I liked about the book, what I thought about it. Man, I grew up listening to Charlamagne the God on the radio. Like my dad always had hip hop radio stations playing. So I think it was The Heat, or I don't remember what station it was, but I remember he'd be on in the morning. And I always thought he was a hothead. Like I felt like he was always being super controversial, and I felt like he was antagonistic, right? This was just as a young boy, that's how I felt. And turns out I was right. Turns out that's exactly who he is and who he understands himself to be. And man, that's one thing I really liked about this book, is that I felt, on top of having a lot of enriching lessons, right, about, man, whether it be being yourself, like going against the grain, finding your passion, he talks about a lot of his own individual struggles and also his experiences in the industry, whether it be beefing with rappers or getting fired from 4 different jobs, and also some of his more like personal issues too, like his relationship with his now wife, and different aspects of his learning experiences growing up, being in the industry, being a boy from Carolina, moving to the big city, New York and such, and having to deal with different personalities, right? I was attracted to the book simply because of the title. I was like, Black Privilege, what? And he actually addresses that in the end of the book, that he was like, well, originally the title of the book was supposed to be something along the lines of like doing whatever the F you want. Something along those lines. It had the F word in it. I remember that. And eventually he changed it to Black Privilege. And he kind of talks about, like everyone has a privilege. Everyone has a certain privilege. And this kind of reminded me of, it was very reminiscent of what Gary Vee talks about. And him and Gary Vee are actually boys. It's another reason why Charlamagne kind of popped back on my radar, is because I'm a big Gary Vee guy. And him and Charlamagne get along very well, which makes a lot of sense, because they have a lot of that ethos of not giving a fuck, right? And just like being willing to do what your heart tells you. And he talks about the criticism he got. He talks about his setbacks. He talks about putting yourself around new people. And this is a great book for, it's kind of like a little bit of a self-help book. Anyone who's interested in learning more about Charlamagne, it's definitely like very autobiographical, but there's just so many life lessons weaved in there. And he talks about learning from other people's mistakes, right? That's what he says is the mark of wisdom, is learning from other people's mistakes. And, about Black privilege, right? So this notion of everyone's being privileged. And Gary Vee often says, like, if someone who looks like you has done it, then you can do it too. And another thing I've heard Gary Vee say is that you're sort of born into this world with either too much or too little. And the people with too much oftentimes actually have more of a handicap than those who were born with too little, because they lack that drive, right? They lack that grit, which is part of the reason why the book I'm going to be reading next is called The Power of Broke by Damon John. And I like to read autobiographies, especially of successful Black men, get into their minds and sort of be able to connect with some of the, like, see what similarities or lessons I can learn from them. And this one is a good one. This is, I think, the way I'm gonna kind of like end this, because this doesn't need to be a really long review. But on page 174, he talks about, what is this subtitle? Put yourself on. In this section, he's kind of talking about like people who want to make it in radio and TV and podcasting, right? He says people always like hit him up like looking for some kind of magic formula, and he says You're telling me you want a talk show, but you haven't even recorded yourself talking about pop culture topics on YouTube. You're telling me you want a podcast, but you haven't even recorded yourself on your computer and uploaded it to SoundCloud. If you haven't even taken the small baby steps, then I know you're just looking for a shortcut. I believe one reason people are looking for shortcuts instead of opportunity to do the work and be productive is because social media has given them a false sense of value. ... If you're posting a link, then he talks about like, you should be using social media to like do what the fuck you want and put your message out there. Like, if you're not willing to, like me with this YouTube channel, right? Like, I don't know why I started this really. I mean, I kind of do, but it was like, I got criticism. I still get criticism. People still, you know, kind of make comments behind your back or whatever it is. But ultimately, it just doesn't matter. And like, if I'm not willing to take those first steps, being willing to be consistent, right? Continue to make videos. And I'm not like trying to have a TV show or anything like that. But the point is that like we need to use these tools to your advantage. And like, if you want to do something great, you want to like, you know, for me, it's like, I want to be a successful investor. You know, I want to be I want to be a top lawyer in the industry that I'm interested in, which is the cryptocurrency, digital currency industry. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to do. And I kind of see this channel as just like a piece to that picture, and no one's going to put me on. Like, I could like try to reach out to some of the top lawyers, as it were, and maybe reach out to like Coin Center, which is a nonprofit in DC that does a lot of like policy advocacy. I could reach out to them and try to like get an internship or whatever. Or, you know, I could reach out to some investors, or, you know, try to go work at a financial industry company. But like, for me, I prefer to put myself on, you know, like read the books, get the knowledge on my own, like put my thoughts out there, build a track record for myself so that someone can go back and look and be like, oh, this is how he grew. This is what he learned. This is what he did, right? And so, sorry for that beeping. That is my sign that I need to go do my laundry, and I'm going to end this video. See you in the next video. Peace.